Hello everyone, welcome to Amigos IAS. I am Adnan. In today's class, we'll be learning an important fundamental right, Article 21. In brief, of course, this is because of Supreme Court's orders this Wednesday. They have ordered this NEWSCLICK editor, Prabir Urkayastha, to be released because the due process of law was not followed. What is this NEWSCLICK case? I have discussed in detail. Please find the description, the video link in the description, and then you can understand what was the case regarding him and what is UAPA and why it is difficult to get bail under UAPA. Please find this explanation in the comment box or in description, guys. So let's see what Supreme Court has upheld in this case and what is due process of law here. First things first, this person is the founder and editor of NEWSCLICK. It is a portal, news portal, and last October he was arrested by the police. The allegation was that he has in the newspaper New York Times, there was an investigation report which has said that there is a very millionaire called Neville Singham in America. He has been funding this NEWSCLICK, and these people are involved in destabilizing Indian government. They are getting Chinese funding and they are trying to promote riots in India and terrorism, and their articles are creating situations which are against the government of India. These kind of big allegations were actually leveled against this person, and he was arrested under UAPA, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. That is a very stringent act, guys. The top court bench comprising Justices Gawai and Sandeep Mehta called the arrest as void, as the Delhi police which arrested them has failed to provide the remand copy to the applicant in the case. So we have to understand Article 22 here also, guys. It is important because it extended the provision to the UAPA. What provision? Last year, if you understand this case, while discussing about the powers of Enforcement Directorate, very much in news now also because of Arvind Kejriwal, guys. This judgment is notable because Supreme Court extended the principle what was there for Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. That means if ED is arresting any person under this act, they need to disclose the grounds of arrest in writing. Grounds of arrest, not the reasons. That means properly in writing, you have to give the grounds of arrest, and ED should not be vindictive. That was what the words which were used by the Supreme Court, guys, in Pankaj Bansal versus Union of India last year, guys. That means this same reason of giving the reasons, or we can say the grounds of arrest to the person who is accused. When you are arresting a person, what is applying for PMLA should also apply for UAPA. That is what is the significance of this Wednesday's verdict of Supreme Court. Give the reasons properly. In writing, you have to mention entire grounds why you are arresting a person. Fine? That is the basic fundamental right to life and liberty of any individual. And Article 22, Clause 1 says the same point, right? That any person who is arrested shall be informed the grounds of the arrest, and also they have the right to be defended by a legal practitioner. That also will come here, guys. So what happened in this case? The court did not go into the merits of the case because they are very big allegations. The court has given the verdict based on the due process of law, whether it was followed by the Delhi police or not. That's the main aspect here, guys. He was produced before a remand judge. Additional sessions judge was there before dawn, because within 24 hours, clause 2 says what? Within 24 hours, you have to be taken to a nearby magistrate who will decide whether your detention is valid or not. And what happened here, guys? His police custody was obtained at 6 a.m. Arrested evening, and next day morning 6 a.m. he got the police custody, because what they have done is, what happened here is, the police had the entire day, because 24 hours is the requirement, right? Within 24 hours you have to be sent to the nearby magistrate. Last evening arrest, and next day morning they have taken the person to the additional sessions judge without giving the chance for this Prabir to contact his lawyer. That is the mistake which was done by the Delhi police here, guys. The police kept his lawyer in the dark about the early morning proceedings, and instead they got a remand advocate before the magistrate, and they got the custody of the person, guys. That is what happened here. Without informing him the grounds on which he has been arrested, and also not giving him the chance to avail himself of the legal practitioner, which is an important fundamental right in Article 22, rights regarding a person who has been detained, guys. So this, and also they misled the court in this case also. That means all these allegations, all these things have been held as illegal by the Supreme Court, against the Delhi police. Okay, so next aspect here, guys. Supreme Court has rightly drawn a fine line between the reasons of arrest, which are very formal and common to all arrested persons, but the actual grounds on which the person has been arrested, that should be informed, guys. Fine. Reason, you can say anything, you are destabilizing the country and all that, but the grounds of arrest, on what grounds this man is arrested, you have to mention that also. If they are not communicated in writing, the right to life and personal liberty is violated, making the arrest and detention illegal despite repeated remand orders. Because if you violate this, that means you are depriving a person of your life and liberty. So this is the aspect in this particular case, guys. Very interesting case where Supreme Court has upheld a person's right to life and liberty and also their fundamental right, Article 22. That brings us to a question, what is the meaning of the word due process of law? If you see the Article 21 here, guys, and in the past we had Article 31 also, which was right to property. This one is life and liberty, and this 31 is property. So if you see the case here, procedure established by the law is the word which we use both of these articles, guys. That means no person shall be deprived of his life or liberty or property except according to procedure established by the law. Now, very interesting history is there behind this. Already Indians were suffering under the British rule. In 1919, the British will bring Rowlatt Act, which is also called as Anarchical Crimes, and Anarchical and Revolutionary Crimes Act, which means any Indians who are protesting against the British government, they can be arrested and detained without any trial. For 2 years, you can be detained without any trial. So it means, as per a law, you are being arrested. They won't see whether the law itself is fair or just or it is reasonable or not. That means legally they are arresting Indians and they are not seeing the fairness of the law. That is what Indians did not like at that time. We want due process of law, because law can be made by anybody and that law can be completely unjust also, because those who are in power can make any law, and that law, whether it is fair or not, that we have to decide. That means the courts have to decide. But before that, why not we incorporate in the constitution itself? Same thing happened while the constitution was being written. There was a note by K.M. Munshi, who also has mentioned that we need to incorporate the concept of due process of law. Ambedkar also, in his draft note, because K.M. Munshi and Ambedkar were members of the drafting committee, so what they have done is, in their draft, they have written Article 21, which talks about right to life and liberty, and due process of law was mentioned. That means you can deprive a person of his life or liberty according to the due process of law, only you can deprive. That means this concept was not there. But then after that, what happened was, there were some members like Rajagopalachari. They felt that if you add due process of law, which means you are restricting the powers of legislature. That means if we say that a law has been passed by the parliament, it should be considered as valid. Why should we say that it is fair or just or not? That means you are trying to undermine the powers of legislature. That was the argument given by C. Rajagopalachari. And then there was the Indian Constituent Assembly constitutional advisor, who was not a member of course, but an advisor. He, in the final draft, has removed that word due process of law and added this procedure established by the law. And because of that, later this was accepted by the assembly, and then finally the same words procedure by the law has come, which is of course a British concept, but also mentioned in the Irish and the Japanese constitutions also. The procedure established by the law is mentioned. And what it means? It means simply a law is passed in the right procedure or not, which means the legality of the law is only seen. If law is not passed as per the right procedure, then you can question it. But here, if a law has been duly enacted by legislature, then there is no scope to question it. That is the meaning. That means if any arbitrary executive action happens, then you can strike it off. But legislature cannot be arbitrary is the underlying message behind procedure established by the law, guys. Okay, and due process of law, American Constitution, 5th Amendment and 14th Amendment has incorporated this concept called as due process of law. Okay, and this says what? It says that law can be questioned not only on procedural grounds, but also on reasonable grounds. Say for example, tomorrow Government of India has passed a law by saying that nobody can speak on Monday, Friday and Saturday. So here the government has passed a law in the parliament of course and president has signed it. So here you cannot question because the procedure has been right. It was introduced in the People's House and the Council of States and the President of India has signed. You cannot question. But I will say it is very arbitrary, unreasonable, unfair, unjust, because how can you stop somebody's fundamental right of speak on so and so days? It makes no sense. That means arbitrary executive action can be questioned in the procedure established by the law. But arbitrary legislative action can also be questioned in the due process of law. Okay, so let's say how the evolution happened in India in this case, guys. Okay, let's go to the segment here. A.K. Gopalan case is a case in India which has kind of, we can say, diluted this due process of law. It did not allow it to come. So what happened in this case? It was a 6-judge bench case. It was 5-1 verdict, guys. What happened in this case? A.K. Gopalan, a communist, was arrested by the government under the Preventive Detention Act 1950. Okay, that means as a law which has been passed by the parliament. He questioned his detention, okay, as per it violates Article 14, 19, 21. So there was one section, Section 14 of this act, which said that the person who has been detained cannot disclose the grounds of his arrest to the court. In the court of law, I cannot disclose the grounds of my arrest. This is completely violating my freedom of speech expression. It is against my fundamental right. So using doctrine of severability, this section was struck off by the courts. But Gopalan was not released from the jail because he was arrested under a law which has been passed by the parliament. Now this law gave the powers for the government to arrest anybody who is prejudicing the interests of India, sovereignty of India, etc. So that is the act which has been passed duly by the parliament. So here the Supreme Court has gone only with the procedure established by the law. Okay, and dissent note was given by Fazal Ali. He has given dissent that no, we have to follow due process of law here. His detention should be held as invalid. But again, because he was in minority here, his opinion was not considered. But next case, Maneka Gandhi case. Here, what the dissent note has been given by Fazal Ali has become the majority judgment, 4-3. It was 7-judge bench in this case, guys. Maneka Gandhi, journalist, her passport was impounded by the government under Passports Act, and she questioned that this was arbitrary, and this case became a basis of India adopting the due process of law, because in this case, the Supreme Court has overruled its earlier judgment of A.K. Gopalan case and held that if a law allows a government to take such kind of powers, it is very arbitrary in nature. That means now the Supreme Court has told that we will be seeing whether the law has been passed in the right way or not, but also we will see whether the law itself is fair, just and reasonable and not arbitrary. That is the case, guys, here. Fine. Article 1921, 14 golden triangle also emerges in this case, where you cannot see any article 14, 19, 21 as isolated. They all form a part of the right to freedom here, guys. So as a result, 14 equality, 19 freedom, 21 life and liberty has to be seen together. They cannot be seen in isolation. And in this case, even though Maneka Gandhi could not get the respite in this case, but the court has told that they will go into the not only procedural aspects, but also the contents of the law. Is it fair, reasonable, just, and not arbitrary. That is what from 1978 we are following in India. Okay, so I hope you understand the point here, guys, which takes us to the last part of the lecture. Already in the last year prelims UPSC asked a question, what is the meaning of the word due, just a second guys, due process of law. Okay, so what is due process of law? How is it different from procedure by law? We just know we have understood this point, but let me emphasize more on this. There was options like fair application of law and principles of natural justice. Generally, guys, if you have to follow the principles of natural justice firstly, that is a major component here, because when I say principles of natural justice, what do I mean here? They are not incorporated as one single document here. What we understand in general principles is, principles of natural justice means here, first point here, every person has the right to be heard. You cannot arrest a person and directly convict him without giving the opportunity for the other person to argue in the case or engage any legal practitioner, etc., or any legal counsel. You have the right to be heard. Second, okay, no man shall be a judge. No man shall be a judge in his own cause. That is obviously wrong, right? Because you cannot make a person become a judge in his own cause, because it violates the principles of natural justice. It's completely against, because you will be only favoring yourself in your own case. Fine. And third one, authority should act in good faith, means bona fide. In good faith, which means bona fide, not mala fide. You should not have bad intentions. Like here we can see Delhi police might have acted not in bona fide but in mala fide intentions, because without giving the opportunity for the person, not informing him the grounds of arrest, not allowing the person to have his legal practitioner. That is completely mala fide intentions, we can say, guys. That is called due process of law here. Then we have the fair application of law. That is the next segment here. Law should be applied in a fair manner to all persons. We can say in simple, law should be fair, just, reasonable, and non-arbitrary. So Maneka Gandhi case has, in a sense, expanded the scope of Article 21. The dissent note by Fazal Ali in Gopalan case becomes the dominant majority judgment in Maneka Gandhi case, and with this Article 21 scope has expanded further and several fundamental rights have been incorporated into Article 21. The latest being right against adverse effects of climate change has been regarded as an aspect of Article 21 recently by the Supreme Court, guys, and in the future we may see further expansion of the Article 21, and this is very important for prelims as well as mains purpose. So I hope you understood the topic. If you have any questions, please post in the comments. I will see you another day with some other topic. Keep watching Amigos IAS. Thank you.